Hello everyone, and yes, this is a little bit of a close-up, but today is a little bit of a different video. As you can see, I am outside. The road is a little bit close to me, so at the moment you might be able to hear a little bit of the cars going by, and you might hear a little bit of the ambience around here, like birds and airplanes and just a little bit of noise. Today, as you could see in the title, I'm going to talk about my testimony, but pretty much a testimony of how I was literally saved from eternal doom. And I know that might sound a little bit like extreme or dramatic, but in all fairness, it's actually exactly like it sounds. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my story with you. And there is definitely a yellow jacket flying around. She might be able to get me out of the seat, but I'm gonna try to stick around even though there's a lot of bees flying around in here. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to share my story with you, really share what has happened with my life ever since I was a little girl until now that I am 21 years old, because so many incredible things have happened in my life that it's impossible that they've only happened to me, and it's impossible that they can only happen to me. I'm fairly certain that it can happen to any one of you, because we have a great God and he doesn't have any limits. And I've experienced this over and over, and even though I've seen miracles from time and time again, I always find a way to doubt him. I always find a way to question what he's capable of doing, and that's just so sad to me. So today, here is my testimony. Here is a reminder for you and me that God really does work miracles, and that he does have the power to change a life, and not only to change it, but to bless us and just give us unimaginable things. So I am actually in the playground of the school, so that's why you see all those things in there. I'm just going to follow a little outline that I have here in my iPad. If you will, I'm just going to find my notes. Okay, so I'm just going to begin as if you didn't know me at all, and I'm not just trying to make up a skit or anything. I'm just trying to lighten the mood here a little bit. So hello, my name is Carolina Herrera. I am 21 years old. I was born and raised in Costa Rica, that is in Central America, for those of you who don't know. I have lived in the same house all my life. I've lived with my parents and my sister all my life, and obviously I'm not in Costa Rica anymore. I'm in Dallas, Georgia right now, but pretty much all that I've known forever has been in Costa Rica, in the same neighborhood, in the same city. As you might guess, probably, I was born into a Christian family September 21st of 2001, and yes, that was 10 days after 9/11 happened. I was the firstborn, though my sister, who has become my favorite person in the planet, was born like 2 years after me. Needless to say, I had a very normal, happy childhood. For a long time I took this for granted, until now I'm realizing that not every kid has this. Like, not every kid grows up with both their parents, with their sister or siblings, and not all of them have scarless free childhoods, I guess I could say. My childhood was filled with prayers before bedtime, prayers before eating any meal, Sunday school, Christian education, church meetings, prayer meetings, all that normal type stuff that you might guess out of a Christian household. And I'm not saying that I was not happy, but this right here is proof that our human nature is never ever going to be 100% satisfied with what we've got, no matter the situation. This means that even though I had temporary happiness, like with field trips at school, or after a birthday party, or right after I got a new toy, I always returned to being frightened, self-conscious, scared, and ultimately ungrateful. And looking back, I was honestly a pretty bitter child or sad child a lot of the time. And I'm not bragging here, but I have not seen parents as good at being parents as my parents were in terms of discipline. They did follow specifically everything the Bible mentioned about discipline, and now that I'm a grown-up, I am more than thankful because they did that. But I didn't really appreciate it as much when I was a kid, so I feel like a lot of my childhood was also like enveloped in fear of breaking a rule, or fear of being scolded, or fear of disappointing my parents, or rather fear of being disciplined, right? I wasn't looking at it the correct way. for the sake of saving time, obviously I'm not going to go into all the details of everything that happened during my childhood years or my teenage years. Just going to fast forward when it all actually changed. Again, even though I was leading a very blessed life, I was still not happy or satisfied. So moving on to the night that actually changed my life forever. Our church would have these special meetings from time to time in which we actually rented a big auditorium, and a lot of people would come and they would preach, and stuff. And this time the theme of the meeting was based on Christ's second coming, pretty much the rapture, right? And then I had heard this all my life, and since I was a little kid, I can remember that whenever there was like an invitation to accept Christ into your heart, I would always raise my hand and I would always get the free Bible they would give us and the free gospel tract so that we could tell somebody about what happened with us and blah blah blah, right? The whole thing. But here, this night, not only did they preach on Christ's second coming, but they also showed like a video of, I'm pretty sure it was like a fragment of the Left Behind movies or something. I was around 10 years old, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember the date, and this is something that only God knows, and I can't wait to go out there in heaven and actually ask him, like, what day did I actually get saved, because I don't remember the date. I was pretty young though, like 10 years old or something. So needless to say, I was terrified by this video and by the preaching, just because part of me knew that there was no way he was taking me with him when he came a second time. Part of me realized that yes, no matter how long I've been in a Christian school, in a church with Christian parents, I didn't really make it my own. I didn't really have a relationship with him. I didn't really have that particular joy that he promises in his word that we get from him. It wasn't mine. It wasn't personal with me. And it was just like that nagging in my brain that, girl, that's not you. You're not included on the group of people that he's picking up when he comes a second time. And obviously, if I'm not living with him, there is no way I could survive through the tribulation that Revelations explain. So I was terrified to my very core, of course, and that day I asked him into my heart. That was the very first time that I do remember praying about it and actually asking him. And I did feel a peace after that happened. I felt like, okay, now he's gonna get me too. Now I'm part of those people that he's going to get when he comes a second time. And I wish that from here I could say that everything has been rainbows and, happy things all over, but if only it might have gotten even a little bit worse, because as a teenager, I wasn't the devout Christian that you would have thought I would become. I did became a Christian when I was around 10 or 11 years old, but after that there were many times that I drifted apart from his word. I knew his principles, I knew what the Bible said, I knew what I had to do a lot of the time, all the time, because I've had this light with me forever, ever since I was born. And I know there's a part of the Bible that says that to whom much is given, much is demanded, and well, the more light we get, the more we are responsible for what we obey and we don't obey. And that was exactly me. I knew everything that I had to do. And as I mentioned, I probably didn't have a lot of scars or bad habits or stuff from a past life before I received Christ into my heart, because I had a pretty moral background already. So there wasn't a lot of changes I had to do to my life per se. But later on, I began realizing that there's two types of sins. One's the sins of omission, meaning things we don't do but we should do, and the sins of commission, things that we know we don't have to do and we do them. Even though I might not have been doing these sins, like I was not out partying, or I was not out drinking, or I was not out smoking, or all your basic wrong moral things that you see people do nowadays. I never did any of those, but that didn't mean I was a saint. That does not mean by far that I was perfect in any sense, because all the sins of omission I was committing. I was not into my Bible all the time, I was not praying all the time, I was not pretty much cultivating a relationship with Christ, even though I knew I was saved. So this obviously brought a lot of heartbreak, it brought a lot of unsatisfaction, especially as a teenager. Even though my teenage years, I'm very thankful with my Lord that he did not allow a lot of bad things to happen. It was all internal. externally nothing really happened, but it was all internal. I kept everything to myself, right? And a lot of the times it was in good things. And it happened the same thing as when I was a little bit younger. I started being bitter, I started being unhappy and not thankful basically with what I had. And then after some years of this, God started working in my life. Little by little, he brought me so low that there was nowhere I could look but up. There was nowhere I could look for hope but him. There was no one I could beg for help but him. Simply stated like that. And then I guess this brings me to the second most prominent part of my life, and that was when I graduated high school. For me, school and high school were like the highlights of my life. That's what I have known forever. The people that were there were the ones I grew up with. That was my comfort zone. That's where I knew what I was supposed to do every day. I had a schedule, I had a routine for years, literally. Then once I graduated high school, even though it was like, wow, great achievement and whatever, it's over, I was lost. That was the point where I literally cried a lot at nights, just like, what am I supposed to do now? Because I hadn't planned ahead. I hadn't thought about what was going to happen with me once I finished that. Just because, again, during school, I had a routine, I had a north, and now it was all basically up to me. So that's where I had nowhere else to lead my eyes to but to God. And here's where I had like the second breakdown in my life and realization that I needed God. And I think from here on, even though there's been a few ups and downs, he has really been present in my life, and I've really made sure that he goes first. I've really made sure that I talk to him about everything that bothers me, and whenever I pray or talk to him about something that I need or I want or is bothering me, I get peace in my heart, just because, you know, his word says it over and over. He's in control of everything. I mean, when it says in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ which has strengthened me, it means that he's gonna do it for you, because there's no way we can just like bottle the things that we have to face in this world. We don't have the strength. And then after I decided to give it all to God, that's where it started. That's where the real adventure started. That's where I actually began admiring the life that he actually allowed me to live. And I cannot believe that he actually wanted me to live this life, because it's so crazy. There's a lot of amazingly good things. So I'm just gonna do a little contrast here. As a young teenager, you know, young adult, I felt like I didn't have friends and that everybody was against me and that they all judged my appearance and this and that, and I was a mess in that area. And then once I gave it all to God, the people that I thought criticized me or whatever, they became my friends. They became people that I would give everything for right now, including my sister, including my best friend. And I've been able to meet people from a lot of different places, really far even from where I live, and they have become people that have blessed my life to such an extent, just because when I started asking God for this, he showed me that friendship is not receiving anything. Friendship is giving and loving people regardless of if they love me or not. And I have seen an answer to that immensely. I don't know what I would do without my friends, and this definitely was a gift from God. Then I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life. There's always been this wanting me to, you know, go to college and study and just follow the normal pattern, but God said no to that, and he's been giving me peace about it too. He allowed me to travel a lot, more than what I would have thought. He allowed me to discover a passion that I never thought possible. For me, traveling, flying, the whole airport thing, it's just like the most insane thing that I could ever experience. And every time that he allows me to set foot on a plane, I'd be like, wow, he did it again. It's hard to explain it. If you are not in my shoes, you would say like, that's nothing, but I grew up with nothing pretty much. Even though, as I mentioned, I've been very blessed and everything, family is like lower class. I'm not supposed to have anything of what I have economically or materially, and he gave it to me. He's given it to me, and that's where he's helped me realize over the years that he's my father. And come on guys, my father, and he created heaven and earth, and he's Lord of all the earth. How could I even doubt that he's going to provide for me with the most senseless things, such as economic stuff or material things, and those are not even the most important, and stuff like that. Over the years, he's opened doors for incredible things. After I graduated, and as I mentioned, I was pretty lost, he guided me, and literally it was him who gave me the most amazing job I could have. I began working as a Spanish translator. I worked there for 2 years. I was able to advance like 3 times in a position up the ladder in the company. All those things that I feel the world views as successful, or like a person who is successful, it wasn't me at all. You wouldn't have thought the moments of anxiety, of panic I have every time that I have to do something new, that I have to face something new. But time and again, he has taken me to that place where he convinces me you cannot do anything without me. And I think that's pretty much gonna be the motto for the rest of my life. I cannot do anything without him, but I can do all with him. I've been asking him to give me wisdom on what to ask of him, because I don't want him to give me things that I foolishly ask for. I want him to just give me those things that he has in store for me, because throughout all my life I've thought, okay, I really want this, but then he's not gonna give it to me because he has something even better that I don't even realize at the moment that I'm gonna like even more than what I wanted in the first place. It's just crazy, and it's hard to explain. And as you can see, there's not a lot of mystery to my life story. I'm only 21 years old. Not a lot of things have happened that the world can see. I'm not world famous. I know the world looks at me like ordinary. I know anybody can look at me as if I'm ordinary, but how ordinary can I be when I know that God loves me that much that he didn't even think twice about gifting me the life of his only son so that he could die for me and give me eternal life? And yes, I'm looking forward to that eternal life. I'm looking forward to that day where we're no longer bound by sin and all the worldly stuff. But even then, doesn't mean that he's gonna make me live miserable in this earth either. As long as I follow him, and as long as I put him first in my life, and as long as I know what his purpose for me is in this world, and that is to be alive for him, he is going to bless. He is going to give me what I need. And I don't know if this helped you, if this gave you some new perspective. I know I rambled a little bit. It's kind of hard to like section out pieces of my life, just because again, there's not much to tell, and you would really have to be in my shoes to actually feel and experience the changes. But that's what I wanted to get at. Give him your life. And this is not a religion. This is not a slave type thing. This is a want for peace. This is want for more. This is a want to have a meaning in your life. If you feel like you don't have a meaning, you feel like you don't have a purpose, you feel like there's nothing more for you out there, open your Bible. Open your Bible. I'm pretty sure you have one. And if you don't have one, you have a phone. You can totally Google it. Open your Bible to the Gospels. Read John, read Matthew, read Mark, read Luke, read the Psalms. If you're ever worried, if you're ever anxious, nervous, whatever your feeling of depression might be, I promise you that the answer is there in the Bible. Especially Psalms, for what I just mentioned. And it's something that has cured me a lot of my own insecurities, because if it weren't for that, I'd probably be in a mental hospital by now, and I'm not kidding. It's really that bad sometimes. We're all human, we all have that struggle, but he doesn't give us challenges that are bigger than us. And most definitely, he doesn't give us challenges that are bigger than him. And when we think that they are, it's because he wants us to look up to him for help. Thank you so much for following along and hearing me out. It's definitely a blessing being able to talk about my life, and I'll probably come up with some other videos in the future, a little bit more organized. Today was more just like a chat with you here in the school playground. I hope that if there's somebody out there that feels as hopeless as I once did, that they can find some hope in this. And by this, I mean Jesus. So thank you so much, guys. It's great having you here. I'm gonna stay out here enjoying the weather because it's finally sunny enough to be out in shorts. So I'm just gonna stay here for a little bit more. But thank you again, guys, and see you in my next video. Goodbye.